In this tutorial, we will use the coordinator pattern. The content view uses a coordinator pattern to navigate to the details view when a row is tapped on within the list. So this is what we'll be implementing, this navigation feature using the coordinator. As you can see, when I click on any of these rows, it displays the selected information on another view, which is the detailed view. The coordinator pattern in SwiftUI offers several benefits. Separation of concern. The coordinator pattern helps in separating navigation logic from the view layer. This separation makes codebase more organized and easier to maintain. And the second aspect of the coordinator pattern is that it allows more reusable navigation logic. With the coordinator pattern, navigation logic can be encapsulated within coordinator objects. These coordinators can be reused across different views, promoting code usability. It also enables better testability. Since navigation logic is isolated within the coordinator objects, it becomes easier to write unit tests for navigation-related functionality. This improves overall testability of the SwiftUI views or any views that you're using in the application, including UIKit views. Within your SwiftUI project, the first thing we need to do is to create an empty file, as we need to include our JSON payload so our app includes some data. To create a new file, hold down the control key and then left click on the mouse, select new file, make sure iOS is selected, and then filter on empty file to type in empty, and we want the last file, which is the empty one, within other. Click on next. Let's call the file data.json. Our JSON file will include 3 objects that has 2 key value pairs of ID and name. So I will just copy the JSON payload that I have on the clipboard. I'll just paste it. So this is the actual data that the application will be working with. The next file we need to create is an item struct file, and the purpose of the item struct is to enable the JSON content that we have here to be extracted using Codable. So within our JSON struct, we need to include ID and the name. So let's create the item struct now. Hold down the control key and then left click on the mouse, select new file, select Swift file, click on next. We will name the file item. Struct item identifiable codable. Let ID equals view ID. Let name string. We now need to create an item service class, and the purpose of that class is to enable the JSON payload to be loaded and retrievable within the application. Call the SwiftUI item service. This is the name of the class. Now we need to define a class, item service. The class will only have one method, fetch items completion. So within our closure, we need to include escaping. So our closure will enable the application to return an array of items, which can also be optional, and return an error, which is also optional. Void. The next thing we need to do is to retrieve the URL of our data.json file within our bundle. Main URL for resource. The name of the file is data with extension JSON. Else, if there's some error, within the closure, include these values if there's an error. Nil, NS error, domain. I'll just leave that blank for now. Code 0. NS localized description key. JSON file not found. And then just type in return to exit. If there's an error somewhere, we compile it. It's nil. Oh, that should be on line 15. That should be completion. Compile it again. Just compiling at the moment. On line 15, it calls the completion handler with an error if the JSON file is not found. And then, if the JSON file is found, it will enter into this do catch statement. Let data equals try data content of contents of URL. So what that line does, it will read the contents of the JSON file into a data object. That should be little c, the contents of. The next thing we need to do is to initialize a JSON decoder instance. Let decoder equal JSON decoder. And then the next thing we need to do is to decode the JSON data into an array of item objects using the decoder. Let items equals try decoder decode item self. So we're decoding an array of items. That's what the open bracket, close bracket means. From data. And then using the completion handler, we need to return the results back, the closure. So the items is an array of items on line 25. And then, if an error happens on line 28, we need to catch the error. And then using the completion, we send the error to the caller. I'll just compile it. Just compiling at the moment. The next file we need to create is our item view model. So let's create our new file, which is a Swift file. Call the file item view model. Click on create. And now we need to create our class item view model, observable. We want to observe and detect any changes within the class. We'll also need to create a publish property. Bar item. And the purpose of the publish property is to publish our array to the caller. Private let service item service. Now we need to create our initializer to include some dependency injection, item service, I can delete that one. So within the initializer, just type in the following: service, item service equals item service. Line 17 we can delete. So it should be on line 14, that should be service for the variable service. Line 17 self.service is equal to service, the passing service. On line 16, we initialize the item view model with an optional item service. So what else are we doing? We include dependency injection as well. And the purpose of using the dependency injection is to allow a custom item service instance to be injected. Next thing we need to do is type the following: fetch items. That method doesn't exist at the moment, so we need to create it. Func fetch items. And the importance of that method is to fetch the items from the item service. So it just acts as another layer. That's why we're using view model. Next thing we need to do is to call the fetch items method of the of the service object. The service.fetch items, which is a completion handler. And then on line 23, we have to do weak cell. And the purpose of using weak cell is to avoid any memory leaks. Items error. And then now that we're in the closure, we need to use a guard let statement. to make sure that the items are not nil. So if it's not nil, then we will assign the items to our items property. Print error fetching items error question mark dot localize description unknown error. Then we need to add return. So if there's an error, this will be displayed on the console, the print statement. And then we need to type in self, question mark items equals items. So if there's no error, our array, which is our items array, will be populated by the publish property with the items from our JSON payload. Let's compile it again. Oh, there's an error on line 23. There shouldn't be a comma after the last bracket. Compile it again. Just compiling at the moment. Next week, we'll focus on the app coordinator class. The purpose of the coordinator class is to enable navigation throughout the app. Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week.